Welcome to the third season.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
It kind of feels like it should be like a year of podcasting based on like TV seasons, you know?
Yeah.
But we've only been podcasting
I know what you're trying to say, but I don't agree with it.
Season 3 to me communicates that we've been doing this for like
3 years.
a really long time. Or like a year and a half.
In dog years, it's the third year.
True.
In podcast
True.
years.
Mm-hmm.
A podcast season is about 4 podcast seasons make about 1 human year.
True. So
also, you might say a season might just make a human season because there's 4 seasons in a year.
like I'm seasoned.
No, not like a seizure, but like season, like the many seasons of the year.
Oh, like the 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the hotel.
No, not the hotel. the autumn.
We could do a whole podcast of just trying to misunderstand each other. Which is why working with your spouse is so great. Everyone should do it.
So good. Everyone should definitely do it.
You know what I will say is that when people...
You should, if you don't have a spouse, you should get one just so you could work with a spouse.
Or misinterpret what they're saying.
Yeah. Because you're not allowed to misinterpret people's things unless you're legally bound in marriage. Right?
No.
No,
what I was going to say is after doing 2 seasons of the podcast, we've met like a handful of people who listen, but we've never met. And I've never felt so confident in how we
are
talk,
weird. Yeah.
Or I don't feel like my voice is that much different. I mean, obviously when I'm tired, I might be like, what?
Right.
But
yeah.
I'm not like that on the podcast. Right. But I never think, oh my gosh, I'm such a letdown right now. Well,
we actually had to just read through a script for a project that we're working on. And our new friend, copywriter Caitlin, put together a script for us and we had to read it. And I was a little nervous about
sounding fake.
Yeah, I kind of thought about it all day long.
Yeah.
It was in my brain.
So season 3 is going to be a little different.
How so?
We're not having any guests.
Are you kidding me?
You're stuck with Adam and my voice. Yeah. You're stuck with our voices, strictly just us, no other guests, no interviews.
If you listen to our podcast hoping for someone to start talking besides us,
that's not going to happen.
Season 3 is going to be a huge letdown.
What we decided, though, is to change a few things besides that. We really wanted to make things a little bit shorter. Yeah. A lot of our interviews for the past 2 seasons have been, just a little long, like over an hour 20. I don't listen to them, so I have no idea.
I do listen to them.
Do you really?
Yeah. I
just feel like I was there, But we really wanted to distill down some topics that were less,
I
don't know, broad, right?
Right, but I found myself in the times we were prepping to ask questions of our guests, wishing that I could just ask you those questions.
I felt the same way. Yeah.
Because there's so many times where, we might talk to a lot of people and a lot of our story comes up throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to have it in a focused, kind of condensed.
Yeah. And talk about things that we think our listeners after 2 seasons, our listeners that are real listeners would enjoy hearing about.
Right.
And hopefully that discussion can extend outside of just podcasting and in real life.
Most definitely. And yeah, that's what we want to do. So we're doing it.
Cool.
So in the first episode, you are the guest, Allie. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Hello.
And I'm going to do my best to not try and answer all the questions that I ask.
Okay.
But it might be a challenge.
Right.
And a listener might be kind of getting like, Adam, shut up a little bit. Let Allie talk. Interrupting the guest. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I've watched you, and working with you, I've watched you go through a number of seasons where you kind of maybe take a step back in time or in intensity and take care of yourself.
Yes.
Maybe that's to refuel. Maybe it's to tackle a health thing. Yeah. Maybe it's to spend time with family, all of those things. Mm-hmm. A bunch of different reasons.
I have.
Yeah. And you also work pretty hard. Like you're a focused person. You work pretty hard. Mm-hmm. You can work a long day.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to be intentional or else you'll end up working and doing a lot.
Yeah.
I've also watched you probably like burn out a couple times early, right? It's like when you should have taken a step back, you didn't and just like drained yourself.
For sure.
So tell me about, when do you start noticing, or what are the signals, symptoms of the warning signs for Allie, just for you, that you're like, oh my gosh, I really got to take a step back, or I'm in trouble?
Good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you were going to ask that because, like, obviously, this is like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But when we started talking about this being the first topic, it wasn't until you were just talking now that I realized I have had, without being like extremely dramatic, I've had different seasons where I have had to slow down and take a step back from work in a different way. Obviously not completely. Beyond just regular burnout, I've had a health issue come up where I needed to really focus on sleep, diet, reducing stress levels, going to bed early, drinking more water, a lot of the basic things. And then my grandpa was really sick over the past, year and a half, and him passing even this fall. Those different things really force you to not only just reprioritize and let it affect your life, but in the moment, you actually have to take time off work. So I would stay with him and my grandma for, weeks at a time. I think a total of like 6 times between 2016 and even into this year. And like I said, still stay in touch with work. I've never really been able to just turn it off completely, but you have to shift things.
Yeah.
So signs and symptoms.
Yeah.
The first one is I have no more clean clothes.
Clean clothes is the yellow light. It's your caution light.
And I'll say this, it's either I haven't cleaned my clothes, so my dirty laundry pile is very high and I have nothing left to wear. But it also signals that I haven't gone shopping. I haven't picked up a sweater because, we've all been there where you're like, I don't need to do my laundry. I have some new clothes. But both things signal to me that I haven't really been home and I haven't really been out, which means I've been at work. And both of those things, I like shopping and I don't mind doing self-care. So that's my first signal. The second would be just, I haven't seen friends or talked to my family. I don't talk to my mom a lot on the phone. We're not big phone talkers, but even just, I have text messages that haven't been answered. I'm really just kind of powering through my personal life. Another sign and symptom is I start thinking about diversifying our income streams. So I start thinking, oh, maybe I should start blogging again and I can do sponsored posts, or maybe I should start doing one-on-one coaching calls, or maybe we should start offering this sort of package that could, bring in passive income while I sleep. I start getting a little bit more creative in that way, which I actually don't really think that's the best route. That's not the best foundation to start with when thinking about those things, because you're feeling desperate.
Right, yeah.
I get defensive more often. I want to work from home. I'm not eating as well as I should be. Or you just feel this feeling of gosh, I haven't cooked a meal. So I think it's that feeling of you're lopsided, and it comes across in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Do you feel like the things that you just said aren't actually important to you, or would you say they're just things that get missed over time? Or because I would imagine someone listening to this might be doing their laundry is like a therapeutic thing for them, or maybe they don't resonate with. Talk to me a little bit about why those things for you are a big deal.
I would say they're not obviously priorities because I'm not addressing them. But they are what makes, I say this a lot, I need to feel like a real human being. Yeah. So there's times where I need to go run this errand so that I'm a part of society, and I go to the post office. And while I'm not, some huge, CEO that has 500 assistants, I do have a team that I can delegate to. And, it wasn't until this fall that I decided, I want to start sending more letters and more care packages. And that commitment keeps me, it sounds so weird, but it keeps me grounded to be thinking of others.
Yeah.
Because when I started narrowing all these things down, I realized I'm not thinking of my clients or my team or you. I'm thinking about myself. So while I might be ignoring self-care or like personal things, I'm actually being more selfish in that moment.
Explain a little bit how maybe you go back and forth from moments you need to be selfish, like you need to be focused on yourself, or like how do you think through that? Like for you, what's it like for you?
When it comes to selfishness, I'm a firm believer that selfishness isn't always a bad thing. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to prioritize yourself. Some people lean more towards they're constantly selfish. Some people are more selfless. I lean more selfish, so I can be much more wrapped up in what I'm doing, and the ability to look around and appreciate people or vocalize my appreciation doesn't come as naturally. And so if I can handle my selfish needs in a routine way, so I can make sure that I have groceries, I'm cooking, I have evenings off, I don't work on the weekends. I am a much less selfish person during work and personal time. So, and that's interacting with people. And so I guess how I felt like all of those signs and symptoms might feel like, oh, she's being selfless. Like she's not addressing her shit.
Yeah.
I'm actually, when I'm the most burnout or tired or feeling, that sort of, I need to slow down feeling, I'm actually in that moment the most selfish.
Yeah.
So it's not that weird.
Well, I think there's times where you and I both grew up in families where like taking care of other people was a big deal, and inviting other people into your home, and we had both of our parents were like very kind to the world that the people that interacted with, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool thing. I think sometimes, depending on how you're brought up, like, sometimes me spending money on my own health or spending time out that I could be taking care of somebody else or I could be doing something else is, to me, feels like I have to become a little bit of an asshole in my brain, knowing that I'm just wired a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm prone to go the other direction with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so things that might seem selfish to me probably aren't. Like I might be a bad judge of
for sure.
that.
Yeah.
No, I think that's cool. I think it's really important for people to understand the warning signs. And what I've watched you do through a bunch of things you've done to improve yourself, become more self-aware, understand your own energy levels and health and emotions better, is you start to notice those much more quickly.
Yeah.
And even in, like, you had a photo shoot early this morning, right? And so your end of the day is pretty planned in that it's going to be spending some time with family, chilling. It's not work time.
I'm making my brother cook me dinner.
Your brother's cooking you dinner. Shout out.
I'll buy some of the food. It's fine.
Challenge, gauntlet throw down to my brother to make me dinner.
Are you listening, Ben?
Benny Boo. So the next question I would like to ask you is, how does being tired or like burnout or how does it affect your work professionally? Maybe your output, maybe your quality of work, maybe what is it like for you?
I thought about this a lot, and I do think first of all, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't freak out over small details. I'm actually pretty big picture when it comes to my work, and I'm not as big picture just in business or life. But I think it accelerates that this is good enough, ship it. So I actually think it makes me a little bit more productive and efficient. I don't need to be that much more efficient, so it's actually not a good thing, and I probably, I make mistakes. So I'm already very quick and very intuitive in saying, that's good enough, let's get the client feedback.
Right.
Or post it. It's not that big of a deal.
So it's not like what you're saying is when you're tired or when you're starting to like get to those places where you need to pull back or where you're overextended, it's not that you start. No client might ever notice from looking at your work.
No, I don't think so.
You're not producing a lower quality of work, and it's not like you're slower or sluggish.
Right. I don't start doubting very much. I will say there are times
because that would probably be someone's first guess, right? Is like, oh, Allie's tired, so this logo's crap.
Yeah.
Like the logo's not the thing that suffers.
Yeah, I think it's more. I start. What's the word? I start ruining my own process. So I don't, like you said, I don't think people notice the output, but I don't enjoy the work that I'm doing.
It's not fun to you.
It's not fun. So it's not fun. I start saying, how long is this going to take? Like, how much resources from the Wonder Jam is this going to take? And that's where, I was even writing about this topic, and I said, I start feeling like I'm owed something, or I start becoming, I'm not thinking of what is this process like for someone else?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, again, it's because I wasn't willing to put in a little bit of selfish time, I become more selfish.
Super selfish, yeah. Yeah. And it turns into, in our work, it can turn into transactions and turn into a bunch of not fun stuff.
That's where tracking my time has actually put me in my place a lot, because there's times where I'll be like, oh, this is going to take me like 2 hours. It takes me 20 minutes.
Right.
And it's it's completely my attitude and my perception. So
I was talking to a coaching client yesterday morning, and she actually coaches other people as well. So I was coaching a coach, and she was talking about her clients when they get stressed out. She was actually we were talking about nurses specifically, is that nurses tend to be people who are helpful. They like taking care of people.
Yeah.
You don't end up a nurse if you don't get some joy out of doing that stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of service that's involved in that. And then when those people don't take care of themselves, they end up losing all of the joy from that job. A thing that normally they're wired perfectly for that job and that role, and it just eats away at them.
Yeah.
And it makes me think a little bit of how you were describing that whole thing of just, you lose like a sense of gratitude, you lose a sense of fun, you lose a sense of, even in those moments, people are, I could never imagine doing something else.
Yeah.
But why not have fun while you're doing it,
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Anything else as far as how it affects your work?
No, I couldn't think of anything
Feel
else.
good?
Yeah.
Cool. How about, let's move into, what do you do? So how do you tackle, let's say if we're thinking through a stoplight, we have a green light, yellow light, red light. When you're at those yellow light moments, when you start to notice like, oh, I'm running out of clothes to wear, or the pile in front of the laundry is pretty big.
Yeah.
People should know this about you.
Mm-hmm.
You wear similar clothes. Like you have a style.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. My closet looks very
right.
uniform.
And you're not afraid. You're not a person who like wears a thing and then washes it after one wear.
Right. I mean, I don't like smell.
So it's not like
a smelly person.
You're not a smelly person at all. So it's not like every week you're running into like, oh, I'm out of clothes.
I also have a lot of clothes. So like the last time my clothes were laundered was when you did it November 12th, and it's December 13th, and I still haven't.
Right.
And I haven't run out of things to wear.
Yeah.
And I don't smell, so
yeah.
Next month, if I haven't done laundry, I'll know to slow down.
Yeah, when this podcast goes up, if someone asks Allie,
see me,
have you done your laundry?
Yeah. I obviously also own a lot of underwear because I also haven't run out. So
yeah, that's good. I'm proud of you for having so much underwear.
Thanks.
Is it how you show off your wealth? You're like, I have so much underwear.
Yeah, I'm like, you should see my underwear closet.
You should see my underwear closet.
I don't have one.
I love it. So you're at one of those yellow light moments. What do you do? What's next?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I really like to take a look at how I'm structuring my calendar and my weeks and my days. And it's always changing, especially, now that we have people on our team and, we have to have check-ins with them and meetings and, even like seasonally, my priorities change. So it's really dark here a lot of the time in the winter. And so I want my day to start a little bit earlier than maybe it would in June. And I want to leave the office by 5.
Yeah.
And so, this month or last month, which you're listening to this in January, but in December, I really thought about what do I want to prioritize? How many days a week do I want to have meetings? And I really restructured it, and I'm kind of putting projects and work time and meetings in these buckets and just getting a sense of if that works. But it took me thinking about it December 1st. I won't implement it until January 15th. That was like my next available free week.
Yeah.
And so I told you even like, I think I'll know pretty quickly, okay, this means I only get to meet with 2 people on Tuesday. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And it really forces you to rethink your work process. So if I can't meet with people enough, do I have too many meetings in my process? Do I need to have those meetings? If so, like, how do you start to accommodate for that?
Yeah.
So it would be easy for me to apply a lot of Band-Aids, but my calendar is the first thing. And in that calendar is scheduling time off to see family, inviting friends to come visit, scheduling time for a facial, things that are in my calendar that take as much a priority as a work.
So yellow light, take a look at calendar, what's eating up your
schedule.
time, see what's going on.
It's why am I working so long?
Yeah,
every day or something.
That's cool. What about little things to refuel? If you're gonna fit more, so for you it typically looks like, oh, I'm working too much is pretty universally the problem.
Yeah.
What do you do to refuel? What do you
Small things?
You take like a month-long vacation to Paris or?
I haven't done that yet. Gosh, why not?
I know.
So one of a small thing would be working from home. It gives me a sense that I have control and that I don't need to go into an office like I would if I had a 9-to-5. So I need to feel like I have permission and the freedom to do the things that a lot of people think self-employed people can do. But there's a lot of weeks where I don't really leave this office except for photo shoots.
Yeah.
And so working from home, even if there's events or meetings happening here in the evenings, like saying I'm not going to go.
Right.
Again, it's exercising that freedom. It's like I remember a friend told me once her 4-year-old was being really difficult when it came to eating dinner. And instead of just forcing her to eat something, she would say, you can eat broccoli or cauliflower. And the choice made her feel like it solved the problem. Most parents probably are listening to me like, yeah, that's how easy it is. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But that was her experience. And it makes me feel like I'm treating myself as a kid, like, hey, yeah, you're working really hard, but on Tuesday night, like you're going to have a night to yourself and you can read and you can have the choice to not go to that meeting.
Truth.
Another thing would be, definitely reading books, eating food with friends. That's great. Implementing some traditions. So we implemented Sunday dinners with my brother and his fiance. And those little things, I think, give you something normal to look forward to without working for the weekend, because who wants to do that?
Yeah. I think the other thing I always notice when you start doing, like you said earlier, one of your problems is you'll notice that you don't feel like a human. You become just a machine
robot.
Of creative brilliance.
Sometimes not even that.
No, definitely always that. That's your go-to. But I think I'll notice you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cook dinner tonight, or I'm gonna do my laundry. And when I hear you say, or clean my makeup brushes, like when I hear you say one of those things that is like a non-creative, brilliant, Allie, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like what,
it's actually a sign that
translates
I'm more relaxed,
to what I would do would be I'm gonna go
to a bar.
To a bar? No, it's like I'm going to go read somewhere. I'm going to go through, sit at a coffee shop and like do some other random thing. For you, that's what that is.
Right.
Because I think one of the ways that in meeting people in the world, I haven't met somebody who is like you that way. I think a lot of people who I interact with tend to be, their problems end up being they're spending too much time in the
self-care.
They're spending hours of time doing the like normal human things, and they wish they had more time to do the professional things.
Right.
You're wired up a little differently.
I think it's difficult for anyone. Like if anyone's listening, anytime you have a profession or you do things that, you know, like, okay, so I think of anyone who owns a business in the food industry. There comes a point where you can't make, like, there's not you're not open. There's no customers there. So if you own a restaurant, there's a ton of work that goes into it, and it's easy to wait until the evening to do all the stuff that isn't customer facing.
Right. Yeah.
And I still haven't figured that out.
Right,
I still haven't figured out how to fill a day that's like equal non-client things and client things, because
oh man,
it's easy to just prioritize when your clients are awake and spending money. Yeah.
So I always find as you were talking, I thought of one of my strategies is always to steal some time. And whether the times where I feel like I'm working too much, I will steal personal time from work.
Yeah.
And I think I did this like a couple weeks ago where I in the middle of the day, I had like a 2.5 hour gap, and I went home and watched a movie.
Yeah.
And like took a nap.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm just been burnt out.
Oh, that's what you were doing? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. I was like, I have a meeting downtown with an important business.
I'm going to go wear a suit.
There's no real lie. It's just very difficult for me to like lie to you about whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is when I have too much work stuff, I will steal some time from evenings or an early morning to help sort of relieve the pressure.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I think overall, if I think about kind of my prescription for this feeling of, I don't think I can do this much longer, or I can't keep up at this pace, writing down what your ideal day actually looks like to me it always goes back to that, because I even wrote down one day, like, what are the things that I am not looking forward to?
Oh, yeah.
And why? And it's not always because that's not the thing you should be doing. It could just be you haven't slept in like 3 days. I always sleep, so I really actually don't know what that's like. But anyone who struggles with sleeping or can't get enough sleep, that can be a huge reason why you feel passionless.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so, especially for entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs, you really have to, you're working hard to get either permission and just creating enough space for yourself to work in something full time, which can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And for people who have something running, you can just be so tired that you've worked so hard to get to do what you do.
Yeah.
And you don't even enjoy the moments of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's sad.
That is sad.
Because, there's plenty of people working at normal corporate jobs who also don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking you about this because I know that you're also good at it.
Thanks. The last thing I would say is, if you're creative, and this could apply to non-creative people, which I kind of think everyone's creative, but I think there's 2 things to think through. The first is you could not like something that you're doing, and you should change it. So when I first started doing photography, I did all kinds of photography. I did food. I shot for publications. I started a company for stock photos. I did weddings. I did family portraits. I did commercial, I did it all. And I slowly started saying, no, I'm not doing that anymore. No, I'm not doing that anymore. To the point where I'm getting actually really clear on, I like it when there's this element of a photo shoot and it doesn't really matter what I'm shooting, but it's probably an object and not a person. And I like this kind of control over the lighting, so you can slowly start to formulate your own version of the thing that you do. And then the other thing I would say is, while you can say that's not for me, you can also, you can start shifting your own marketing to try something different. So maybe you don't like what you're doing right now. Maybe you're taking pictures of weddings and it's, you hate not having your weekends.
Or you're designing PowerPoint presentations for a very boring company.
Yep. You should start.
I was thinking of a designer we recently talked to.
Right. Yeah. So I wished back then, I wish someone would have just told me, like, you should just start sharing a lot of your own story through your marketing to basically shift that, because you can feel really stuck. And it's your voice and you're the one that's making the stuff. Yeah. So I wouldn't even say go make free work. Just start talking about the thing you like.
I always tell people they should quit whatever the problem is in their life. So I've had friends talk about their marriages that were struggling. I'm like, you should get a divorce. And they're like, no. I'm like, then don't.
Choose. Yeah. Just like make a choice.
But like, I think living in a victim kind of mentality, or living in something where you feel like your life is running you, or even your goals are running you. Or like
that the world owes you something.
Yeah. Is not a good...
not a good look.
No, it's not a good look.
Yeah,
it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not what you want to be doing. We'll all die someday and regret all the time we spent doing stuff that we didn't want to do.
And to be honest, I was just looking through some, like, I would say 3-year-old photos that I had taken, and I remember...
Were they just pictures of Dash?
No. It was products and people, and I had such a fire then that I don't anymore. Mm-hmm. And I guess I would leave people with this. The more you grow and the more money you make, it can affect the way that you feel about work. And I feel more of a passion about the people that I'm helping. Back then I was passionate about how I was coming across and the work that I was creating and what
type of artist you were and how you were perceived by.
And so it's okay. Yeah. It's okay that what you're passionate about shifts. Mm-hmm. And if I become a full-time artist, strictly artist, I should be really passionate about my work, but also the process. So that's why we work with really great people, and it's why I don't bring on clients that are assholes. And if you are a client of ours right now and you're an asshole, I'm gonna find you.
You wouldn't be a client of ours.
No,
we don't do that.
They're like, everyone that we work with is amazing, and that has been the biggest shift.
Yeah, and that's the I mean, I think it's always when you find yourself tired, you got to find your anchors. You got to find your rocks or things that you can come back to kind of ground you. And I think if we're doing anything in the world, whether or not we've made the best photos or websites or logos in the world, will be like trying to win that game will be endlessly frustrating.
Yeah.
Or trying to figure out like, oh, do I like even doing this is endlessly frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think you can always be like, am I energized and am I helping people? Yeah. And that always seems like where it comes back to.
I love it.
Find a little gratitude in there somewhere.
Thanks for talking to me today.
You're smart. You're fascinating. You gave better answers than I thought you were going to give. Not that I thought you'd give bad answers, but I found myself just being like, dang.
Thank you. I hope anyone and everyone that's listening
everyone
can relate, because it's not... It happens in all different forms and
this is the amounts. Other thing I want to say this, because if you're still listening, you're our people. Mm-hmm. But because you and I work together all the time, I was reading a script last night and you're like, oh, you're like have a little attitude. No one else around the table knew that or felt comfortable enough to tell me that.
Yeah.
Because we work with each other and see each other all the time, and we kind of know how much each other sleeps genetically.
Right.
Like I know you didn't get enough sleep, so I know.
Yeah.
Like I was proactively like, do you want to cancel that another meeting? Do you want to cancel the other thing? Do you need to do something? Right. And just think about all the other people we've ever worked with in our entire life. They have all of that real stuff going on all the time. We just didn't live with them.
Yeah, that's true.
24/7.
Right.
I think. Most likely we didn't.
Most likely, yeah.
But I think that's such a, if you're working with somebody and they're annoying the crap out of you, or they're like pissy all the time, like they're probably sad and tired.
Yeah.
So let them take a nap sometime.
True.
Or go take a nap yourself sometime.
Yeah.
People are just people. It shouldn't make you nervous.
Truth.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
And
we're so good at ending.
That's it.
That is it. We will be back next week with another episode, just us, and I will be turning how the turntables have turned. That's a Michael Scott quote. I'll be asking Adam questions and getting into his
specifically about beard growth.
Can't wait.
We got to really focus in. The people want to hear strategies and techniques. Thank you. Bye.